Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we're looking at a dark build based on Max Elixir and Ninja Boy. There's actually quite a few dark decks roaming around right now. There's going to be a couple more this week. There's still the Darkrai Giratina build, and there's also going to be a Quad Zoroark build, so plenty of potential dark archetypes in the format right now. The one I'm showing today is really based heavily on Fright Night Yveltal. It's one of my personal favourite cards since it came out, and I think it's pretty well placed in the format right now for a couple of reasons. So we will jump into the list. First of all, the actual main attacker is going to be Fright Night Yveltal in a handful of matchups. Its ability alone makes it really good in this format. As long as this Pokemon is in your active position, each Pokemon tool card in play has no effect. Really cool, obviously really strong against these Mega Evolution decks that are very reliant on Spirit Links. The likes of Mega Rayquaza, Mega Scizor, Mega Mewtwo, and all the other more obscure Megas like Gardevoir and stuff. They're all going to really dislike dealing with Fright Night. They have to Lysandre before they find Spirit Link, or they have to Hex through Spirit Link, or they have to wait until they find Gardevoir and then go for their Mega Evolution. In all of these instances, sometimes it can buy us a turn or two. So just having this here really sets the opponent back in terms of how they can get into their setup and how aggressive they can be. Another great thing about Yveltal is its HP is 130, so again, the likes of Scizor can't one-hit us, so that's just a really big deal. And also, it's an annoying obstacle in the early game to get over for a couple of decks, so it's a pretty nice early game number. Its attack is also really fantastic. Now that we've lost AZ, and the main way that people can get rid of stadiums, get rid of their Pokemon now is via Parallel City. Pitch Black Spear is really strong in this metagame. For a Dark and 2 colorless energy, we do 60 and also 60 to one of your opponent's benched EX Pokemon. So we can try and gain a slowly but surely favourable prize trade by targeting easy Shaymin EXs for like 2-hit KOs, whilst you're also pressuring the active, either softening up another EX or you're dealing early damage to non-EXs as well, which can be fantastic. Or you can be doing multiple spreads on their main attackers to soften them up. Because we are also playing Yveltal EX in this deck. It's not quite the big hitter that it used to be, so sometimes getting some early Pitch Black Spears on can put things in a slightly lower range of HP, so we can finish them off later on in the game. Against a Mewtwo, this is actually really fine as well. Doing 60 damage really isn't threatening to you. The only thing that they would be knocking out is a Mew, so you just don't bench it at that point. We have the Mew specifically for Mewtwo, but having the Fright Night in the active position and firing off a couple of Pitch Black Spears, because we have 130 HP, the damage changes are very helpful for them. So they're going to have to find things like Pokemon Center Lady. Again, all of these annoying one-offs that people have to dig through their deck to try and work around Fright Night. So it's a really cool option for us in here. The weakness to Lightning is fine, I guess. Galvantula's not too big of an issue because it has 130 HP. That's really the biggest Lightning type we're seeing, other than like Tex from Zebstrika and Raichu. This deck really does kind of fold to a really Lightning heavy deck, so I'm not too concerned about that. We do have a couple of Mew in here, which obviously aren't weak to Lightning, but they have low HP anyway, so we'll try and trade 1 for 1 in those sorts of circumstances, and I'll show you how we can do that later on. So the weakness isn't too big of an issue. The resistance isn't too big of an issue either. There's not too many fighting decks out there, but it's good to be aware of. So yeah, 3 of this guy, because really we want him in the active position on the very first turn of the game to stop even things like turn 1 Floatstone, so that they can't move out of their dudes. Things like Volcanion play heavy Floatstone counts. I know Rainbow Road like playing Floatstone. Other things like EXP Share as well, preventing the opponent getting them. It's just really huge. It's a really... People think tools are safe right now because there's no Xerosic and Megaphone, but Fright Night is really our only option of, quote-unquote removal, but it just stops things from working. Additionally, of course, stopping Fighting Fury Belt is a huge deal because there's a few decks using those in high counts right now. We are still playing one regular Oblivion Wing Yveltal, still pretty nice in here. We do have acceleration from Max Elixir, but it's not 100% guaranteed. So having this Oblivion Wing in the early turns can be helpful for setting up some damage and also setting up some energy around the board. We do, of course, have 2 Mew in here as well, so you don't have to lead off with just the 1 Yveltal. As long as you can find it, we can get Mew copying that attack for just 1 Dark. and start spreading the energy around our board, so pretty handy stuff there. Additionally, Darkness Blade for 2 Darkening colours does do 100 damage, and with Fury Belt that means we can handle Shaymin EXs, of course. So that's something to note. It's not something you'll go for very often, but it's actually more efficient now than Yveltal EX in terms of one-hitting Shaymin EXs, so that's something to bear in mind. Like I say, we are playing 2 Mew. This increases the overall like non-EX count that we have in the deck for a start. Also, it has Free Retreat, which is just so amazing in this metagame right now. It means that we can get into our Fright Nights even more consistently. Even if we've not led Fright Night, we can, Free Retreat out of Mew, and there it is, straight in the active position. It really helps out because we are a Max Elixir build as well. So in between these turns, when we're suffering knockouts, we can promote a Mew, play out our turn, maybe we hit some Elixirs onto our bench, and then our bench dudes are more easily powered up for response KOs and whatever else. So just throwing it in the active as a pivot is so helpful in this deck, because you don't really want to have a high float stone count because we're using so many Fright Nights, so we've got to have something with physical Free Retreat, and Mew does serve that role very nicely. It, of course, has the Memories of Dawn ability. I used this at Worlds. I had lots of Mew in my build, and it means that it can copy the attacks of all your basic Pokemon in play. All of our deck is basic Pokemon, so it can copy everything in here. One or two really important things. It's great for just copying Fright Night again. Getting multiple pitchback spears off in games is oftentimes how we're going to win prize races. Additionally, it's why we have 1 Lugia EX in here, kind of, because then we can copy Lugia's first attack, Aero Ball, and have that Psychic weakness to help us out against the Mewtwo matchup. Now, I do realise that a lot of Mewtwo players are playing Garb, but we can Lysandre up and KO Garb, or we can just threaten the Mew so that they have to develop Garb. All these things just coming from benching a Mew, basically. So that's really cool, but be aware that Mew's not the only option to win the game against Mewtwo. Like I was saying, Fright Night puts in a huge shift in that matchup as well, so I feel like we have a very, very competent Mewtwo matchup thanks to these 2 Mew, as well as the other things inherently in this deck. It can just copy other things as well. Getting like Y-Cyclone is also a really huge combo from Yveltal EX, because you're a bit worried about putting 3 energy on a Mew, but of course then you're taking the DC away to save it for other things, so just having extra pseudo attackers is just really nice from the Mew. And like I say, it provides a different weakness that we can hit, which is really cool right now. It also means that we aren't worried about resistance as much, because there are a couple of Xerneas builds roaming around right now. There's Xerneas Break, and of course there's Rainbow Road as well, so being not a dark type is good enough so that we don't have the resistance against us, which is pretty important. That's kind of why we have the Lugia in here. First of all though, to Yveltal EX, it is the main attacker in a lot of situations. Like I was saying with Pitchback Spear, why we sort of set these things up, it's because Yveltal EX isn't the big one-hit KO machine that we used to know, because Mega Evolutions are so prevalent and high HP basics and stuff. It means that Yveltal is more just an efficient attacker. He keeps things in check because of Evil Ball, so things like Mewtwo can't go absolutely crazy, just carelessly, but otherwise we're going to punish them. But Y-Cyclone is still super efficient. We move around DCEs, we keep them on our board, we just keep things set up whilst pressuring good 2-hit KOs. Still a really good attacker, just not quite as all-in as it used to be. So yeah, all the same weaknesses that it always has had, but it's a bit more of a backseat approach. I prefer using Fright Night a lot in many, many matchups. So why the 1 Lugia EX? I know a lot of people like other tech EX cards, like 1 Darkrai or 1 Umbreon. I'll get onto those later, but my choice is actually Lugia EX. Like I was saying, Aero Ball is great for copying with Mew, so DCE can threaten Mewtwo's really, really nicely, so that we can deal with that matchup much better. But also it's the Deep Hurricane attack, which warrants the slot for me, personally, with Lugia. Deep Hurricane does 80 plus 70 more if there's a stadium in play, and then you get to discard that stadium. It's really nice against these Xerneas decks that we would otherwise really, really struggle with. I think Fury Belting a Lugia has often been my win condition against the likes of things like Rainbow Road and things, definitely like the Xerneas Tina builds. I feel like that matchup isn't as unfavourable as you'd think with just 1 Lugia EX, because we're playing Lugia EX, we're playing 2 Enhanced Hammer as well to keep that damage output low, and of course we're using Mew, so Mew can copy Lugia in the first instance, so we effectively have a few, like more than 1 Lugia that we can use, and we obviously have Super Rod to recycle this guy. So getting these deep hurricanes off is really, well, it's not really efficient, but it's the best way that we can actually one-hit KO xerneas. Whereas otherwise, with all of our dark type attackers, it would be pretty much impossible. So I like having the one slot in here to try and balance those awkward matchups. I still don't think it's favourable, but definitely against the xerneas Tina build, because we have 2 Enhanced Hammer and the Lugia, I feel like it's a winnable matchup for us. So, onto the items. We are playing... Oh no, sorry. 2 Shaymin EX. They draw cards. Here we go. We have 1 Super Rod. Just going to recycle. We do have a couple of like 2-ofs, like the Yveltal EX and the 1-of Lugia. Got to recycle these to keep getting value, and also recycle some Dark Energy for late game elixirs, all that good stuff. 2 switch, we're using such a heavy Fright Night line that I feel like we need to have physical switches over Floatstone, just for that flexibility. You could think about having Escape Rope in here, because we do have the free retreat pivot of Mew. That's down to your discretion. Right now I've just gone for the full 2 count. We are then playing 2 Enhanced Hammer. Enhanced Hammer is really good in this format. I'm learning more and more as I play the format, but Enhanced Hammer is just so good. It's going to really balance out, again, matchups. When you're able to just deny an energy, set people back a turn, it can mean that sometimes you get an extra turn of Fright Night. And that alone is so strong. Allowing yourself to maybe keep a Fright Night alive, or just have an extra turn of Pitchback Spear, maybe an extra turn of attachments elsewhere on your board, because this deck isn't the fastest of things. It takes a slow kind of setup approach, so setting people back a turn is so big. Against like Rayquaza, against Rainbow Road, against xerneas Giratina, against Dark Giratina, all these matchups become a lot more balanced because Enhanced Hammer is going to set them back a turn. And of course mirror matches and the stuff like that, you're really going to enjoy having the Enhanced Hammer in your build to set people back a turn, which is just so cool for you. Onto the 4-ofs. For Max Elixir, we do have 9 Dark Energy, so it's not, you know, a huge amount of the time that we're going to hit this guy, but it's still important that we can, because most of our attackers, really the attacks we're looking for are Dark DCE costs from Y Cyclone and from Pitchback Spear, so we've got to start hitting these as best we can. For Mail, for Ultra Ball, and for VS Seeker, this is a pattern you should be seeing in a lot of our builds, because it's just huge consistency in all accounts, basically. Next up we have the 1 Hex Maniac, kind of skimping out with Hex because there's so many other Garbo builds. I keep saying this in all of my deck lists that a lot of people are going to be playing Garb. There's a lot of people playing 2 Hex in all their builds, so I feel like already people are worried about playing ability focused decks. So I feel like we can get away with just the 1 Hex, because there's only going to be a handful of matchups where in the first case it's going to be useful at all, because most people won't be playing abilities. But it's still worth the 1 count because there are still decks like Volcanion roaming around, so denying their Steam Up abilities is really going to put you ahead in that game. So yeah, pretty good stuff. We do also have 1 Ninja Boy, and frustratingly that means I'm going to have to take it out for the battle video and I'll just put in an extra card. There's a few cards that I'll discuss in the after the full list that we can choose to add in. I'll just have to pick one of those, I guess. But yeah, Ninja Boy still banned on PTCGO. But it's really cool in here because we are getting a big sort of setup around our board. Y Cyclone moves energy around however we please. Pitchback Spear's a lot of commitment. We have elixirs. We just have Mew sometimes that can be placeholders basically for other Pokemon. You can just get these attachments on just for the sake of it being there, so we can Ninja Boy later and catch people by surprise. What I really like is a lot of people expect you to play Umbreon EX in this deck, so just threatening Ninja Boy, letting them see Ninja Boy in the discard pile makes people play around it, and that alone is really cool. But in general, like I'm saying, our attackers are quite flexible, they're quite different in their sort of specific roles, so being able to switch out your playstyle midway through a game and just really force your opponent into a weird spot can be really nice for you, so I like the 1-off Ninja Boy. Obviously as well, it can mean that a chance to free retreat, because we can Ninja Boy into a Mew and then just use our retreat for the turn for free, so that's pretty cool as well. The 2-ofs, we are playing 2 Lysandre and 2 N. Lysandre's actually pretty cool in here because we again have Fright Night, so things that are reliant on floatstones rather than physical switches and stuff like that, we can punish quite heavily with Lysandre, which is cool. Additionally, we have the 2 N. Like I say, this deck isn't the fastest, so balancing back out the prize race is nice, especially because we can set up like a 4 prize win condition. If we use Fright Night effectively, we can set up an EX ready to get knocked out, as well as like a Shaymin just sat there, so N rarely punishes us too much. It's normally like we're taking the game with 3 or 4 prizes to go if we set it up in that regard. So N is normally quite nice for us. And just for Sycamore, it's going to keep us drawing in its big consistency as per usual. Our stadium of choice is one that I've thought over for a while. I've eventually gone for Faded Town. I think there's enough megas in the format to warrant this card. And it really does balance out our matchups, along with the enhanced hammers, which can be pretty clutch. Putting 2 damage counters in between turns is going to be great. A lot of mega decks are already playing high stadium counts, so you can only really assume it's an extra 20 damage. But I feel that's already worth more than something like Reverse Valley, which is only a +10. Obviously, that's a universal +10, so it's something to balance out and weigh up in your own head. At the moment, I'm fairly happy with the Faded Town. You could play around with it how you like. The one thing I don't actually like too much in here is Parallel City of Our Own, because so many other decks are playing Parallel right now that it's often just a dead card in your hand, and really there's not too many times we want to Parallel. If we Parallel the opponent, they get rid of Pitchback Spear targets. If we Parallel ourselves, it really limits our creativity and our Ninja Boy plays. Obviously it does wipe out Shaymin EXs, which can be cool at times, because they're easy prizes, but it means that we can't get these cool like spreads around our board and use Mew to the fullest extent, so at the moment, it's a toss-up between Faded Town and Reverse Valley, and at the moment, I'm just leaning towards Faded Town for what it can do against the high HP decks, which are awkward for us, so there we go. We are still playing 2 Fighting Fury Belt, although we are Fright Night heavy, getting this guy to go straight to 210 HP is really cool. Again, it's going to help us out against things like Xerneas Break. Keep Lugia alive for 2 turns means we get through 2 Xerneas Breaks, which is just way better than 1, of course. And again, you can slap it on Mew sometimes. You can slap it on Shaymin just to deny opponents using like Fright Night and stuff. Of course, they do shut off the tool, but you can work around it in certain ways. Plays around Galvantula, I guess, to an extent, so it's just cool. You do have the one Float Stone as well as the switches and the Mew. I feel like it's still important to have the float just for nice flexibility. A lot of things are chunky, so it's good to bear that in mind. And there is Garb around, so you can still sometimes Float Stone Yveltal and get value from it, so it's pretty cool. Finally, just the 4 DCE. The deck is very reliant on double colorless energies as well as 9 dark energy, because we are an elixir build, so we want to keep the count high. So let's look at some Pokemon that we could be playing. Umbreon EX is one that a lot of people are liking because of the Ninja Boy plays that you can go for. With Endgame, you just do 70 damage, but if your opponent's Mega Evolution is knocked out, we take an additional 2 prize cards. That is a huge, monstrous swing if you get it going. But in playtesting, I'm not getting it going often enough. I'm not getting the big, crazy 4 prize turn as much as I would like. I just prefer this to be a consistency slot a lot of the time. Things like Mewtwo, you can't really set them up because they're just going to damage change you at that point, and they'll be taking knockouts and just laugh at you. Against Mega Ray, I don't feel it's that necessary because I've never felt too awkward against Mega Ray, especially with things like Fright Night. You can play around it quite nicely. We have the enhanced hammers anyway. I'm not really hurting in that matchup too much. Things like Scizor, I guess these are the times when it comes in handy, but again, it could just be like a Yveltal EX. They don't deal good damage against Yveltal, especially because we can Y-Cyclone away the DCE, so they're never getting Crusher value, stuff like that. I've never felt it too necessary to have the Umbreon, so right now I'm not playing it. It's so cool when it comes off, it just doesn't come off enough for me to really warrant play. There's then going to be Darkrai EX. Obviously Dark Pulse is great in the Darkrai Tina build. Here, because we're so reliant on DCE, and because we have lots of non-EXs, they just naturally get knocked out turn by turn a lot more than it would be in a heavy Darkrai EX deck, so I feel like we never have enough damage for Dark Pulse to be that relevant. One important thing though, it does have a different weakness, and it resists Psychic, so it can help out at dealing with the whole deck right now is weak to Lightning apart from Mew, which has 50 HP, so Darkrai could be an equalizer if you're worried about Lightning decks. There's also Absol, which can be cool because we're doing so much sniping with Pitchback Spear. Absol could be a niche one-off that's very helpful for you. That's really it for Pokemon. There's maybe 1 or 2 others, but not too many that I'd want to think about. Crushing Hammer's an option that I've been thinking about quite a bit. Just like the mentality with Enhanced Hammer, on these coin flips you're going to be much better off in so many situations. So Crushing Hammer could be one. If you find extra slots in here, Maybe thin down the enhanced hammer line to just one and try and fit some crushings in here to flip some coins to win games. Same mentality as the enhanced hammer, but it's more insta-play. It's something you don't have to just wait around for until they have DCE. You can just use it as you go, basically, which is cool. Like I was saying, the stadium is something to be concerned about and to consider. Parallel is not for me right now, but it's something you could go for. Reverse Valley is an option as well, just to play things safe. Additionally, there's going to be Special Charge, which I quite like in here. We are very reliant on double colorless energy, so Special Charge, getting these back is going to be quite handy to you, and this is going to be the card that I sub out for Ranger, for Ninja Boy actually. So that's what we'll do just now. So that's my 61st card right now. So if you see yourself a slot, try out Special Charge, it's pretty cool. Another card that you might consider is Pokemon Ranger. We're not too worried about Chaos Wheel, but sometimes we need DC to get over Giratinas. Additionally, it's going to help out against the likes of Jirachi promo, and obviously the whole deck is basics right now, so we have nothing against Yveltal EX. Additionally, Regice is difficult because although we have some Pokemon, it's more likely that we have to attach to Mew, just sack ourselves a load of energy if we go for a big Evil Ball against the Regice. So it's more the fact that Jolteon just sweeps us pretty much, so you may want to play Ranger. At the moment, I'm just not thinking that it's huge in format, so I'm trying to get away with it and just crossing my fingers. So let's jump into a game. Obviously no Ninja Boy in the deck, despite the name. Hopefully Pokemon get it sorted soon, but yeah, let's see what we can do here. We'll have a couple of games and see how this goes. I think the best matchups for this deck are going to be like the Mega decks. Definitely things like Scizor seem quite easy to me because it's difficult for them to one-hit KO. They need to like get Giovanni Scheme just to one-hit Fright Night, so the damage racks up way too quickly for us. And just other Mega decks in general, I feel Mewtwo you can outplay quite a bit. So those seem pretty favourable. It's the things like Rainbow Road and xerneas Tina which I'm more concerned about. So it's going to be interesting to see. Also, to an extent, because we have Fury Belt, I might actually lead this guy. Okay. We are going first, so we can hold the rest. Yeah, those are the most difficult matchups. Looks like we are up against a Mega deck with Gardevoir in here. Because it has DC, it's probably a Mewtwo build. So we'll bear that in mind. Even non-EX Yveltal is okay to lead in this matchup. 3 Sycamore in our opening hand. That's pretty grim. We do see a Shaymin EX lead. Because we draw Max Elixir, we'll go for the Fright Night straight away. And we are able to hit. We're then going to attach the Fury Belt to non-EX Yveltal. I think I'm just going to Sycamore away this Dark Energy because it could get Oblivion Wing value later on. And we could get some better things here. We do hit Switch and DCE. Wow, that's very tempting. One thing we have to worry about though is potential enhanced hammers. I know it's a Mega deck, so it's not likely. No, you know what? We're just going to attach. It's such a strong standpoint for us. I'm happy to bench this as well if it is Mewtwo. Or even Ray to an extent, really. I'm happy just holding this hand now. Unless I'm playing around N. It's either playing around N or Lysandre, right? But if he Lysandres this turn, he's in horrible shape, so I'd rather just play a Switch. And I'll hold the Mail for now. Pretty happy with that turn 1. We got the Fright Night nicely set up in the active position to be a threat for the opponent, and we'll see how we can deal with it. Do see an Ultra Ball turn 1. Most likely for a Hooper. We see a Ranger and a Garb get discarded. Still no hints of which Mega deck this is. But these are the ones. These should be our bread and butter matchups. That's the whole point of Fright Night in the deck. So we'll see the Hooper going for the Scoundrel Ring. And we'll see what deck we are up against. Does indeed look like it's Mewtwo EX. So it goes for 2 Mewtwo and a Shaymin. I think the biggest concern here is playing around Parallel, right? I don't really want to... Okay, we're going to see a Sky Return. Okay, this is fine. I'm going to see a setup for 3. I was thinking about dealing with both Shaymins, That's not too big of a deal. Because then you play into parallel in that regard. I think the early game you have to put the 60s on the Mewtwo's as quickly as possible. We do of course have Mew. There's no hint of Trubbish just yet. One Gar in the discard, so we can maybe go for some sneaky plays around that. You see a Lysandre for Sky Return. That's fine. We don't mind that too much. In comes Mewtwo. Have a Shaymin of our own. I'm going to put the Floatstone on and then we'll play Trainer's Mail. We have Max Elixir, which I'd like to use here. Do have a lot of Dark in hand, but that doesn't matter when you hit it off so nicely. We will then... Still going to attach to the active because it really threatens the Mewtwo that he wants to keep into the active position on his own. I'm happy to put down Shaymin EX here. Get some value before he starts threatening Trubbishes and such. Do have another Max Elixir. I think I want this on the Yveltal EX, so I'm going to retreat now. Looks like we failed that regardless. We do have Faded Town, but I'll hold that for now. I'm actually happy holding this hand because we have so much energy in it. So we'll go for Pitchback Spear, setting up both Mewtwo's. And let's see how he plays around it. One awkward thing now that we have benched the Shaymin EX is if we go for another Pitchback Spear, then it opens up Lysandre plays. So, wow, we just see a concede. Yep, that's pretty cool for us. Fright Night does its job. It's a bit of a shame that we didn't get to see anything there. That's the best thing about Fright Night. Like, in that position, they have to Lysandre around Fright Night if they want to get the Mega going, which means Fright Night's still alive for us. He didn't really have any good Lysandre target other than the Yveltal EX, I guess, but it only had one energy on it and the Floatstone anyway, so we felt pretty safe there. If he was going to target the Mew, the Shaymin, I mean, he wouldn't have knocked it out, and then we could just Sky Return, and then it's on 90 HP, and that's even worse for him, so I felt, although it was so early on in the game, we felt pretty commanding right there, so that was a cool win. We are going to win the coin flip again. Having the Umbreon sleeve as well, such great bait from me. Because we're going first, we can just hold the rest. We'll lead Fright Night, as we like to do. And looks like we're up against another Mega deck. This time it's going to be Mega Gardevoir. And because of the resistance, this gets a lot more difficult. If it's the dual type Steam Siege one, it's even more awkward because Pitchback Spear doesn't get the value that we look for often. So yeah, we'll have a look here. Oh, it looks like it's Giratina as well. So that's interesting. That means this guy comes down straight away. Have to put down Mew. I'm actually going to play Switch into Mew here, just for good options and potential Max Elixirs down the line. I will still attach to this, go for the Ultra Ball here. We'll just get set up as best we can. One great thing in this matchup is probably going to be Lugia because of the lack of resistance. So I may as well search this out now. And we'll play N. Fairly decent start. We do have an Elixir and a Male. I think I'm going to play the Male first because it's more important to hit off an Elixir, I think, in this matchup. Floatstone, not too necessary because we have Switch in hand. We can take the Ultra Ball just for better odds. No real need to play it. We do have the N anyway, so we can just play the Elixir here. I think I'm still going to put it onto Yveltal EX again just for options right now. And I'm happy enough to pass it over. Don't really need the Fright Night in the active this turn, because there's no way that they can Mega Evolve, so we'll look to do that next turn instead. Looks like, well, that's the new nice Gardevoir playing some Elixirs, which means it's more likely that it's playing either a split of both Gardevoir or just the Brilliant Arrow. So that's something to bear in mind. An attachment of Double Dragon. No supporter for the turn is very interesting. Now, we have the decision to make. We can go for Fright Night this turn and start setting up. I think that's definitely what I want to do. It's important to get the 60 on before like resistance, I feel. So we'll do this. We're clearly not going to play the N. Could play Hex. No, because this is our only option. Alternatives is to Lysandre here, but then we're getting less damage in. So I like the Spear here quite a bit. We'll see what the opponent can come up with. So it's Mega Guardy Giratina. And we see another scoop after 2 turns. So weird. I think that's more down to dead draw. That game specifically. But we're putting in good pressure on turn 2 both games. And we're setting up both games as well. So it's just bodes well for this deck. That it's quite a simple deck. Quite easy. It's always going to get relatively well set up. And it causes issues in the early turns against these mega decks, and that's good to see. So yeah, we win another flip, which is cool. And we'll see what we're up against. And again, we lead with our best friend, Fright Night. And again, going first means we don't have to commit this. And we see a Hooper in the active, that's gross. So I'm considering it's most likely a Mega deck, or it's a very unfortunate Rainbow Road player. Gonna commit the Dark Energy, just to play around any random hammers that he could be playing. Gonna play this just for safekeeping, and we'll pass. Gonna hold off going for Sycamore, because we do have Fright Night. If he's playing Float Stones, he's even more awkward right now and upset, because obviously won't work. So feel pretty happy. Times like these when they just lead with bad Pokemon is even worse, because Fright Night makes things even more awkward for them. So we'll see how we can play around this. We do see an early Professor Sycamore. It looks like it's another Mewtwo build, so this will be interesting. I wonder if he's playing Gardevoir. Because he plays Escape Rope, he might not. And if he doesn't, Fright Night gets way cooler. See an Ultra Ball here. Getting rid of a few more supporters. See a Shaymin EX. Looks like he needs to draw some cards this turn. He's had no attachment so far. Do see the Shrine come into play. We are going to see that setup. There is a Spirit Link. And does he have energy to boot? No. Cool. So we will DCE. Can't play Hex because then it stops Fright Night. So I think we're just going to Sycamore for tempo here. There's nothing I want to Lysandre up, so we'll just do this. Get some nice elixirs. Kind of want to keep Lugia just for threatening with Mew. So I might Ultra Ball now. This is an interesting one. Because we have so many elixirs, it's so tempting just to start building up Yveltal. Let's actually do that. I feel that's fine. Just one fail. It's more important to play these before Trainer's Mail as well, I feel. Because we still want draw power. And that draw power might come in the form of Shaymin EX here. Just gonna have a quick scout of the deck. Do have both our stadiums and we do have both our hammers as well. do have 2 Mew in here. Good to know, good to know. So Lugia is going to come down, Shaymin EX is going to come down. We'll draw some cards. There is Mew, and this is going to be slapped onto the bench straight away just for the threat alone. And we're going to go for Pitchback Spear, setting up that Mewtwo straight away, as well as getting some damage on Hooper. One great thing is that Mew also hits for weakness on Hooper. So if we can actually go like Elixir DCE, we can play Switch and knock out Hooper, which could be pretty funny. Still, we're avoiding Shaymin for now because he could quite likely be paying Parallel. I know a lot of decks are, so we're always on the lookout. We want to deal with the threats straight away, and then later on in the game deal with Shaymins. We see another Mewtwo come down. Let's see if he's going to end his turn or not with Mewtwo. Do see a double colourless get attached. Do see a float stone onto Hooper. Of course, not going to work because of Fright Night. And just a pass. So still no Mega Evolution, which is horrific for him. It's really not something he wants to deal with. We do hit a Max Elixir. This is going to go on Yveltal EX. Then we're going to put 1 energy on the Mew just for the threat. There's nothing else I need to do this turn. I'm very content to pitch back Spear, and it's going to go on to the other Mewtwo now. If we put it on this guy, it sets up damage change, and we don't need to do that. We can just slow grind this Hooper for 2 easy prizes, and then put 60 on all of his board, and see how he wants to deal with it. Because we have so many nice attackers at this point. You can see this is wrecking the Megas that we've intended to deal with, so pretty cool for us so far. We do see a Lysandre, and he's going to attempt to take out the Lugia. Looks like just a pass from there though, so that is really horrific. Man, we have so many options here. So many great options. This is crazy. Because there's so many options, it's almost more difficult for us. I think just play safe with DC attachment is the way to go here. And play like nothing else. Maybe this bench and Elixir. Right, that's fine. And we'll just pitch back Spear. Again, I'm more content doing the Shaymin at this point to play around damage change. He can deal with a Mew, but now we've got 2 in play, so everything's under fire here. It's one of these games where you'd really love Ninja Boy just for threatening things, but unfortunately banned on PTCGO. Let's see if he can Lysandre. He's just ended his turn. Fright Night is pretty cool. So, 2, 4, 6... Let's do this. Don't think we need to end because it's not drawing enough cards for us, and he's drawing pretty dead. So we'll just Sycamore. No energy is a bit of a pain. Try and play around N a little bit. I actually think Faded Town, although it's great in this matchup, we don't really need it too much. Let's try and see if we can get more elixirs and stuff. We do get E-Hammer. Missing energy was so horrific there. Am I playing the hammer this turn? I quite easily could. Now this is really awkward. Do we just go back into Fright Night? For just 2 more prizes here. I think that's fine. Just for tempo. Oh, I could have just retreated. That's my bad. That's me not thinking things through. And do I play the E-Hammer? Yes, I definitely do. Because it makes the damage change less likely. And we'll deal with Shaymin while we can. Take him up to 140. Just really grim that we missed energy that turn. I felt we were in great shape. I mean, we still are, but just a little less. Yeah, we still won. No biggie, guys. You don't need to hit everything to win that game. Just really slow start from everyone that I've played. I don't know if it's Fright Night making it awkward or it's just people not drawing the right things, but it looks like just the early pressure that we're putting on is just really difficult to deal with. And this is why Fright Night's still one of my favourite cards. Oh my goodness. Against all these megas, it's done so much work. I think just because we've had quick games, we'll just go for one more. We haven't really felt any resistance so far. No one's really hit back at us too much. Because of the options of this deck and it's still fairly new to me, I may not be making the best lines here. But even then, I'm doing enough. Not going to confess to be the best player in the world, but just because there's so many options with the deck, it's difficult to analyze so much. We see a Carbink, which means it's most likely going to be Rainbow Road, right? Because Rainbow Road plays all these crazy one-offs. Because our hand is so dead, I'll still throw out this. We'll play the Elixir now. Just for any target will do, basically. We'll play Shaymin for 3 here. E-Hammer's good in this matchup. It still works because Carbink is only for basics. But we will play N here because these resources seem pretty important. But we still need to get some stuff going this turn. Still no manual attachment, but we do whiff everything, which is very sad for us. I don't even want to put down Fright Night because they're so dead in this matchup, so we will pass it over. Very slow turn from us. But then again, there's a Carbink in the way. And it is indeed Rainbow Road, so we'll see if... Ooh, playing Bridget, so it's most likely a full non-EX build. Otherwise, Hooper is the way to go. So yeah, a very non-EX heavy build. Playing Mew. We do see a Max Elixir. Does hit it. Also an attachment for turn. And just passes it over to me. Man, this hand is pretty grim. Going straight away for N seems horrible here because the opponent didn't do much, but it's all we have. And we still get such a grim hand. I think I'm actually going to discard Special Charge here. And we'll grab Lugia. Getting the 1 energy on now is actually quite important. So we can respond KO this guy. So we'll go for that. Keeping this in the active because it could still be annoying for him. He might end up having to attach retreat because I know oftentimes this plays Floatstone. And if he's playing Bishop instead of Zoroark, it could be awkward. We're going to see an Ultra Ball. Finding himself a Shaymin EX. There is a Skyfield. And a Max Elixir. And that also hits off, goes on to the Mew. There's an attachment for turn. And a Shaymin for 5. Let's see if he's playing physical switches or floatstones. It's an interesting question. We see a level ball, most likely for Galvantula here, or just another bench sitter. Yep, there is Galvantula, so we do have to be very careful about the Shaymin EXs that we put down. There is a float stone, unfortunately for him. So there we go. Let's see if he's figured out Fright Night. Yep, just a pass. So we'll play N. Once again, it's our third in a row. We do hit DCE. Now the concern is... 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Yeah, the concern really is that he could just Lysandre into this, so he can then free retreat and then get the KO. So I don't think I can even attach it this turn. I think I just need to wait. Because we didn't hit the switch, it doesn't really matter. All it does is put us a turn behind, but that's not too annoying. Alternatives is to bench Fright Night, attach DCE, because when he goes Mew, it eventually might get value. So I can knock out the Mew in the same turn as putting damage on Shaymin. But I don't think that's important enough. I think he's more likely to just 1v1 us each turn, so I don't think it's worth. Here is the Bishop. And we'll see if he's going to pay retreat with an attachment this turn or not. I think he only really does it if he has the Lysandre in hand to deal with like Shaymin or Yveltal. We'll see what he has. Very awkward matchup though. We're doing our best. Fright Night still doing a job over this Carbink. But this Xerneas is presenting a lot of danger right now. And we see an N from the opponent. We could have put down some Yveltals to play around it a bit better, but more awkward hands from us. Gross. And another pass. So it's a bit of a pass war right now. And again, there's not much that we can really do here. Don't want to play this Ultra Ball for Shaymin because then it plays into Galvantula too easily. And this deck isn't very good at dealing with Galvantula. We'll throw out the mail here. We do grab Floatstone of our own. Hex has not been used. Too many VS Seekers to get rid of. We'll just play N again. Now that I've benched the Mew, I can actually have a safe attachment to put somewhere. So it is going to be Mew. More dead hands. What's going on here? Do I put down the Yveltal EX is the next question. We've got rid of both our fadeds. So Skyfield stays all game. It's just... At this point, it's just so weak. We already have a lot of Lysandre targets though, right? So we may as well just put this on here. We were looking for the switch regardless if he stalls. Do we play this E-Hammer now? I feel like he's... Sets him back maybe a turn, but maybe not. I think I can hold. Let's just hold for now. Make him play things. Hope that we get end once again. Really weird matchup. We're both just trying to set up, but I feel his is more dominant than mine right now. More elixirs. Where's this trying to go? Puts on to Shaymin. Wow. He could, of course, be playing... Oh, no, he can't be playing Ninja Boy. What am I saying? We do see an Ultra Ball now. And he's going to grab a Volcanion EX. One thing we can do is sweep a game under the rug just by Lysandring Volcanion and see if he has anything other than Floatstone in his deck. We see the attachment to Carbink, so now he's bored of us, so he's actually going to pay a retreat, it looks like. Question is, does he have Lysandre to go with it? Doesn't really matter right now because we have nothing. We have really nothing going on. He might be debating whether to go Mew or xerneas. He does have VS Seeker for Sycamore, so that is not... Ooh, had to spend a DC in the process. He had the option to N and he chose not to. Interesting. Very interesting. Indeed. Do you see that parent of retreat? Does decide to go for the Mew. And that's a lot of damage. 280. Just about enough, I'd say. And finally, the first prize of the game is taken. We can go into Mew of our own. My goodness. This hand is so awkward that this is genuinely our best line here. Lysandre, hide into Fright Night. Pass. And make him lose a lot of energy. This is legit our best approach here. So he has to have Floatstone Hex in hand, or Floatstone VS. Otherwise he's going to start paying attachments. So I think I hold Enhanced Hammer just in case he attaches DCE here. This is going to be one of those games. Just testing out the opponent's deck really more than anything else because we have nothing going for us. We're going to see a level ball fail. Alternative win conditions, guys. Got to find them somehow. Because at the moment we just can't find energy. We've scattered them around our board, but just a little bit too much. See, another level ball fail. He's playing a lot. He's playing 3? Yeah, 3. Wowza. I guess he has a lot of targets with the Carbink, the Pawniard. Galvantula's an important piece of this deck, and he has Mew, so does make some sense. We're going to see the recycle start happening. The special charge for 1 DCE and the Super Rod for Pawniard and a Fairy. Let's see if there's anything else in here. DC goes on to Galvantula. If he slow rolls the Hex Floatstone, I'm going to be pretty upset. Let's see, there's a Lysandre. That works too, if he has Floatstone. Shaymin. Have we used Super Rod? We have not. There's Escape Rope. It can't be Fright Night. I think it has to be Shaymin here. So 1 rope, 1 float is currently gone. So let's go back into the Mew for the Rainbow Force. So now it's top deck time. Our stall hasn't been working too well. But there's still 3 prizes to go. You never know. Oh man, so grim. Nothing. Will Enhanced Hammer here. I think. Who knows? It could do something. Yep, that'll do. Real dead draw game. Really weird. Let's think about our outs. We have 2 VS Seeker, 4 Sycamore, 3 Ultra, 1 Shaymin. It's not actually too many. The Lysandre is also an out. So the opponent goes for the DC and Lysandre. And now it's down to us to see What else can happen here? Not much, really. Just out of dead draw. It's a real shame, because I really would have liked, I really would have liked a proper game there. I know that we were seeking out an alternative win condition for a large portion of the game, but we just weren't given a chance to get into it. And that is sometimes the case of Pokemon, more and more so in this new standard, just because there's no compressor, so you can't get rid of those janky cards that we were kept top decking into. We drew into like Pokemon, I think, or like special charge Pokemon, which is grim because we played quite a low Pokemon count as well. So all the energy were outs at that point. Trainer's Mail were like pseudo outs. Sycamore, Lysandre was kind of an out. I think he had enough VSE to get around Fright Night, to be honest, but it's whether or not he had the Float Stone as well, because we're going to try and target that Volcanion all over again. So yeah, kind of unfortunate last game, but you saw how well we were doing with it against the Mega Decks, which is kind of what we're trying to target here. Really not too many answers against the Xerneas, as you saw. We never got the Lugia rolling quick enough, more just because of some awkward ends that we kept doing to ourselves and then the opponent did to us when our hand wasn't as horrible as it looked. So there you go. I hope you all enjoyed the deck and the battles as well. A little bit of salt at the end just because of no good cards. But it's an awkward matchup regardless, so who knows how it would have gone. For now though, please leave a like to this video if you did. Join the discussion down below about this deck and maybe some other cards that could be played in here. Just get involved in the discussion, what you think about this. Is it tier? What kind of tier it is? Me and Jack are going to be doing a 3K subs video because we have smashed it. Thank you so much, guys. And we're also going to be analysing the Survey Monkey results that we did maybe a couple of weeks ago, because we're going to be implementing some of those changes, you know, as of this week. So should be pretty exciting stuff. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But for now, it has been Joe from OmniPoke, and I will see you guys next time.